Hey everybody, and we thank you for joining us on the ComaCast. We are going to be talking about asexuality today. It's a topic that's not really talked about in general, and even in the LGBTQ community a lot. So a lot of people might not know everything there is to know about it, or know very little about it. But we'll be talking about that a little bit more today. We are excited because we are joined by David, who, if you are just new to the podcast, is actually my co-host Matt's husband. So thank you for joining us, David.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Cody. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, when we were coming up with this topic and this idea, Matt was like, why don't you just talk to him yourself? Leave me out of it.
Yeah, that's what he said to me, too. I was like, no, you have to be in this.
I know. People loved the last episode we did with y'all two together. It's one of the most listened to episodes. I think they just liked you.
I'm mysterious, I guess. I don't know.
Podcasting from the Lone Star State in Southern California, you're listening to the Coma Podcast with Cody and Matt.
Okay, so we always start off with the show with a little bit of an icebreaker, and today we're going to be playing a game that I'm going to call a steakhouse or a gay club. So I'll give you a name, and you have to just tell me if you think it's a gay bar or a steakhouse. Excelsior. Gay club or steakhouse?
I'm pretty sure that's a gay club.
You are right.
Yay.
It's a gay club. The Velvet Hammer.
That has to be a gay club. There's no way. Velvet, you know what they're hammering.
Well, it's actually a steakhouse.
What?
I know. Cut. Steakhouse or gay bar?
I hope it's a steakhouse. Fingers crossed.
You're right. It's a steakhouse. The Pink Pony.
If that isn't a gay club, I'm going to be so upset.
Oh, it's a steakhouse.
Oh my god.
And our final one, the Loading Zone. A gay bar or a steakhouse?
I'm being set up. That's gotta be a gay club. I mean, the Loading Zone.
You're right.
Yay.
It's a gay bar. So coming up, we're going to be talking about asexuality. What is it? There's like some myths surrounding it. Some people believe certain things, and lots of times it's all completely wrong. But we'll get more insight on that coming up next. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about asexuality. Now, not everyone agrees with the definition of what it is. It's kind of basically a spectrum. Most people believe that study this. An asexual person could feel little or no sexual attraction, but they also can engage in sexual attraction. Some people consider asexuality to be their sexual orientation, while others describe it the absence of sexual orientation. So you can see it can be a whole mix of things. It's kind of just basically what a person feels. Now, asexuality can be an umbrella term that includes a wide spectrum of asexual sub-identities like demisexual, gray A, and queer platonic. There's also a whole list of others. Now, it's estimated about 1% of the population is asexual, though experts believe that number actually could be higher. When people do talk about asexuality, usually it's mentioned as ace or the ace community. So if you hear that term, that's what it's talking about. But David, I feel like when we're speaking about asexuality and knowing whether you are or aren't has gotten easier, I guess, as society has progressed a little bit. Especially, it's talked a little bit within our community, but probably not in general society. But I was wondering with asexuality, is it something that you knew early on, or was it something that you learned more as you matured and learned more about things in the community?
I would say it kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say progressed into asexuality because I don't think that's really a genuine thing. I would say it was kind of like a life point. For me, at least, I can't speak to everyone else's experience, obviously, but
Yeah.
because when I was younger, like my late teens, early 20s, I was very sexually active at the time, and then it was like a switch flipped, and I have like no sexual desire, so to speak, really. Um, so, and then that was probably like in my mid 20s, so 23,
Hmm.
25, somewhere around there. And you'd be, I guess, surprised how little, I mean, I don't think about that at all. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure my Twitter presence probably makes it seem like I do, but that's more performative, I would say, just to kind of,
Yeah.
standards of society.
Yeah. So, kind of what you're saying, early on, or it kind of is a progression of time for you in your personal case. Do you
Hmm.
think like uh, it's harder within the gay community and many communities, especially because the gay community always seems hypersexualized and everything is always about sex, it seems, on the outside? Do you think it made it more difficult for you to come to terms with who you were as being asexual, considering everything else is just hypersexualized outside of that?
I think, at least personally, my struggle with it is, I mean, it is a normal life sexuality, whatever you want to call it, especially for people and for me as well. It's just kind of accepting that that is my normal, um, but that's not everyone else's normal. So, like you were saying with the hypersexuality in the gay community, I definitely had a lot of people not really understand that I'm not sexually attracted to you. It's not you. I just am not capable of being sexually attracted to anyone at this point. And they just think it's like, I don't know, a challenge, a game, something wrong. But so I would say it's definitely a struggle, just because unfortunately the societal norms are normal sexuality to hypersexuality. I mean, that's, you see probably on the news all the time, things like that, with like Twitter especially is abundant with gay sexual themes and things like that, that we just, that's part of our community at this point.
Yeah. I like thinking about it, I think some people within our community, and of course a lot of people outside of the LGBTQ community, when we talk about people who are bi, many talk about how that just doesn't exist. People are just making that decision. It's
Mm-hmm.
not who they actually are. I think that kind of goes also to asexuality in the same realm of people just being like, oh, that's not a real thing, or that doesn't exist. uh, have you seen any improvement in your interactions if it ends up coming up with people over time from when you were younger till now, of people becoming more aware and more accepting of it?
I would say yes. Overall, I've definitely seen improvements. I mean, I'm not a huge social media presence or anything like that, obviously, but
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people talk to me about asexuality, like trying to figure out if they themselves were ace, and we've had conversations about that. And I definitely kind of feel like it's becoming more widely known and more widely accepted, especially in the LGBTQ community. Um, so I'm hoping in the future that it's something that is more widely accepted and as a real state of being, like, gay, bi. I mean, like you
Yeah.
said, bi people struggle all the time with people on both sides saying that they're just like confused, or they don't want to make up their minds or what have you. And it's like, that's not the case at all. But
Yeah.
people want to believe what they want to believe.
Like, what was it that made you realize, I guess, even asexuality was a thing? Because like I feel like it's a little bit easier now. Like I was saying, it's a little bit, people may be more aware of it. Younger people growing up might be more aware of it, but I feel like going back, just if even 5, 10 years ago, it wasn't really talked about. So if you were a young person growing up, you wouldn't realize what you're feeling matched something that actually was real. Kind of, what was that?
Well, I would say for me, honestly, I kind of felt like something was wrong with me for the longest time. I'm just like, yeah, I didn't know at the time that asexuality was even a thing. I mean, this is probably 2013, 2015. So, I mean, it's probably building up more popularity at that point. but it was still very, I would say, relatively new, at least as far as I was aware. So, like I said, I just thought there was something wrong with me. Like, I'd go to the doctor, and they're like, "Oh, everything, all your blood tests and everything, hormone levels are normal.
Yeah.
You just you need to see a psychiatrist about it." And I was like, "I'm not crazy. I don't need a
Mm-hmm.
sexual psychologist to tell me." Uh, so that was just like kind of like the roadblock that I ran into, and that's kind of when I was like, no, there's something else going on here. There's not. This isn't a mental block. This is
Yeah.
something different. And then I, look on the internet and eventually did come across asexuality, and I was like, well, looking through this here, this is making more and more sense. And I'm like, kind of blown away as medical professionals don't seem to know it. But then again, half the medical professionals don't know about Truvada or PrEP or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, LGBT care is very lax.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I think when I was looking at some stuff about this and looking through, the years of when we've been doing this podcast about it, it does seem that has kind of been like, especially early on, that it was there was something wrong. It was a mental illness, and then obviously as time has progressed, it's like, no, it's not. That is not at all. If you're having these feelings, it's perfectly normal. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. I think, for younger people who are growing up to realize, yeah, you're fine. It is who you are. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And hopefully, your doctor is somewhat aware of certain things. But like you were saying, there's many doctors that I've heard talk about that they don't even know what PrEP or Truvada, all of that stuff is, and it's like you're having to bring them information. It's like, you went to school for this. You should stay up to date. Why are you not?
Right. Exactly. It's a real big struggle. I think a lot of people in the gay community have where their providers are less than educated on gay specific health concerns or anything like that. And I know I personally have been trying to find a LGBTQ specific doctor to be my primary care doctor, and I mean that's not something that's available widely across. Well, I'm in Texas, so I'm sure it's not surprising, but I mean
Yeah.
that's even somewhat in its infancy where you can find a provider who can kind of relate to you.
Yeah. I mean, I think, what makes that even a struggle too, not only just being able to find somebody, but like, if you have health insurance, is that doctor even going to be in your network to be able to go to that doctor? Because a lot of times you're like pigeonholed into this one group of
Mm-hmm.
people, and it's like, well, stuck with this.
Exactly.
Um, so as being asexual, I think some people, if they don't know a lot about it, it's like, well, you can be in relationships, you can have relationships. Um, like, what, obviously in your case, you and Matt have been together for many, many years, and now y'all are married. What is that like, being asexual and being in a relationship? Because again, they can coexist. It's not like you have to choose one.
Um, I'd say all in all, our relationship is pretty successful, but we have very open communication. Um, so when we officially started dating each other, Matt and I were very clear with each other. I mean, he has a normal sex drive. I obviously don't. So we have, I wouldn't say an open relationship, but it's definitely something we're willing to, discuss because it's not fair to lock his sexual needs down because I don't match those. So that was definitely something that I didn't think would be fair to like put on him. And I mean, it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's ever even been an issue. As far as we're concerned, it's kind of like how do I put this? The offers on the table, but no one's partaken.
Yeah.
So it just definitely is a struggle though, because I mean, no matter how normal you feel, you always kind of like, oh, well, I can't provide this for my partner, or like you, I mean, we do have sex, obviously. It's not something I'm ever dying for, but I do. I'm not. I do have pleasure from it, like physically. So I'm capable of feeling that, but that's not something every ace person is. Like you were saying, it is a spectrum. So some people don't feel anything from it at all. Like there's no enjoyment. I think for me, the intimacy of it, like the romantic connection, is kind of is good for me. But I mean, I can't remember the last time I would have actually initiated a sexual act.
Yeah. Um, like obviously in your case, like how if someone is wondering, you know, like you go into a relationship or a, you know, it's something that you probably need to bring up. Like you're saying, the open communication is
Mhm.
there from the beginning, and that is what can help something be successful or give it the best chance of success, is being really open about things. And you know, it's not even just asexuality, but a myriad of things in a relationship that is important to be open about for a successful relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. Open communication is going to be key, like you said, in pretty much every aspect of a relationship, straight or gay or lesbian, LGBT, anything like that. So it's kind of just really identifying each other's individual needs and seeing what can be met, what can't be met. I mean, in our case, we're able to work around, I guess, my asexuality. So it's not been a problem for us,
Yeah.
thankfully. But I'm sure there are couples out there who uh, do kind of struggle with that. And I mean, I know not everyone is, some people are into strict monogamy, and that's probably the bigger struggle for ace people, because I know it can cause frustrations in the relationship when your sexual needs aren't met in that regard. So,
Did you ever think, you know, growing up and then, you know, finding out about asexuality and realizing it kind of matches up with who you are? Did you ever think you would be in a place where you are now, in a relationship, being married, and having the life that you have now?
this is going to sound stupid, but yeah, honestly, it didn't even occur to me that it would be a hurdle or roadblock for me. But sometimes I'm kind of naive in that regard. Like, I just like when I came out, I didn't just like there was no announcement in my house. I just brought my boyfriend over. But that like tells you how I think. Like there was
Yeah.
in my head, it didn't occur to me that there was any reason I wouldn't do that. Like my brothers brought their girlfriends home. Why wouldn't I get to bring my boyfriend home? And by the way, mistake.
Was it really?
Yeah, so my mom's boyfriend is kind of homophobic, but he's a bastard anyway, so whatever. uh,
Oh, the family drama.
yeah, I'm sure I'm not the first gay person with a hating family, unfortunately, and I'm sure I won't be the last, but
I mean, I think that's actually a good a point of view, and it's basically you're just living your life. You're being who you are, and didn't think that as an impairment. I mean, which it shouldn't be. You know, uh, it's just like, you know, being gay, being lesbian, being bi. None of those are impediments to whatever you want in life, a relationship, friendships, etc. Uh, I was reading more about this, and it was talking about how some ace individuals, you know, they don't want that relationship, but they just really want close friendships. And so it's just kind of something that I guess is a personal thing for each individual person. I do think it's important, you know, that like to note that sexual attractions and sexual desires aren't the same thing as romantic attractions and romantic desires. So you can have both of them, or you can have one or the other. And so that's just kind of a whole process. I think that's what, you know, everything is just kind of on the spectrum. And I think in general, most people aren't just like strictly gay or whatever. Everything is kind of linear, a spectrum of things, and you may fit into multiple areas of things.
Yeah, I would agree with you wholeheartedly there. I know, I mean, from my personal experience talking with other people, I mean, ACE is definitely a spectrum. And I mean, like you said, gay, straight, that's always a spectrum as well. So it's really very individualized. And I try to tell it to people, it's like just because like what ACE means to me does not mean that that's what it's going to mean for you as well.
Yeah, I think also in talking about this, when I was looking up some things, there was like certain, I guess this would be some people who are not knowledgeable and then don't want to spend the time to educate themselves on things, but that some people like try to equate asexuality with celibacy or abstinence, which is totally not, because those are both choices that you're
Yeah, there.
choosing to make. usually for religious reasons. Uh, which I
Wow.
was like, I was like,
Yeah, those
really?
are not the same at all. Like, obviously, celibacy is the choice of wanting to have sex, but choosing not to. I don't have to make that choice. I just don't want to. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even on my radar. I don't have to wake up and be like, man, I don't want to have sex today. I don't even think about it. It just like I wake up and I go to bed and it's not crossing my mind one bit.
Yeah. I think ultimately in this conversation and talking with you about this, uh, and for those who, maybe listening and have feelings that they thought something was wrong, which in reality, nothing is wrong. Uh, there are different spectrums of things. And it's ultimately, I think, in anything that we've talked about on our podcast, is that to be comfortable with yourself and just to be who you are, not to necessarily worry about what other people are thinking or doing, because you have to be happy with yourself and happy with who you are. Um, is there anything else that I have not mentioned or covered that you think that gets brought up sometimes when people think or talk about asexuality, or even myths or whatever, the misunderstandings that people have about it?
I just kind of like to reiterate what you said about like a lot of people have the misconception about like the sexual attraction and romantic attraction. They are, like you said, definitely nowhere near the same thing. I'm fully capable of feeling love for other people, being romantically involved with other people, obviously, and there's nothing to do with sexual attraction. I mean, obviously, I've been in a relationship for a long time, and I would like to believe that that is built on love and trust and everything like that. And so I mean, it is definitely I think capable of being, even if you're ace, you don't have to be alone if you don't want to be, and if you do want to be alone, that is fine too. That is completely okay to just have close friends, or if you don't want to have friends. Like, I mean, there was a very long time where I didn't want to talk to anybody, and sometimes I still don't want to talk to anybody or see any faces and just be alone and quiet. Um, so like you said, just kind of trying to really be true to yourself and just not really being not being performative or anything like that to like meet social standards or like pressure from your partners or your friends to be someone other than yourself, because you have to live with you first and foremost. They don't.
Yeah, I think that is very well said. I think also, as you mentioned, like sometimes you just want to like be alone, be by yourself. That is one thing that Matt has mentioned before, and that y'all are both really good. This isn't even talking about asexuality, but talking about relationships, and that's a good thing to have in relationships, that you can both do your own thing and not like be worried that they're going to be doing something else, or always having to be clingy and like always right on that person. That y'all are both really good at like being able to do your own thing and letting each other do their own thing.
Yeah, he would probably say I'm too good at it sometimes, because we'll be sitting on the couch together, and normally I'm in my own world. I'm on my iPad reading or watching YouTube or playing a game, and he'll be talking to me, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And he'll bring it up later, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You never said that. And I think he's going to actually murder me one day, because he definitely said whatever he said he said.
Well, it is kind of suspicious that he wanted to start a true crime podcast.
I
Then
know. I know.
he
If I
knows
don't
all
come
the.
back tomorrow, call 911. He murdered me.
Well, David, thank you for joining us. I'm sorry that Matt couldn't be here. He is
Yeah.
he is staying busy. He is staying busy. We do give him that. Uh, but
Yeah, he's
we'll have.
nursing.
I know, nursing, right? Um, we will have to have you back on with him though, because people loved it. People loved hearing your stories. I think they just liked y'all interacting. That was the.
Yeah, we have an interesting rapport sometimes. We really get into it.
We may have to set up some cameras and
Oh,
create
wow.
a little mini reality show.
Uh-oh. I walk around without my pants on a lot. So, just like pre-warning everyone, you might want to censor that. Pretty.
Just little boxes,
I
and there's
wouldn't.
plenty of kitties. How are the cats doing?
God, they're at the door now trying to get in, and I don't know why, because I already fed them, and that's the only thing they ever care about. So,
Isn't it the only thing that everybody cares about is just food?
I mean, I can't fault them because I'm the same way, but leave me alone already.
See, they don't want the space. They want the space on their terms.
Exactly. When I'm available is when they want space.
Yeah, exactly. Well, David, thank you again for joining us. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So, hey guys, we want to remind everyone that you can keep in touch with us on all of our social media channels, whether that is Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can do all of that at the ComaCast.
And we definitely love to interact and hear from all of our listeners. All of this is not possible without you guys.
And if you don't